News 4, watching out for you.
Snow made for a slow and rough morning commute in some parts of the viewing area. There is more snow and very cold temperatures ahead, possibly the coldest in quite some time. My forecast is coming up.
Fire breaks out in a South St. Louis home. News 4 was on the scene as a family scrambles to get out safely. Researchers say they know how to save the lives of thousands of smokers every year. We'll fill you in on their life-saving idea. The family of the King of Pop, Michael Jackson, says they did not get justice from a jury. Find out what they want to happen now.
You're watching News 4 at noon in high definition.
Good afternoon and happy Thursday to all of you. Thanks for tuning into the first News 4 at noon of 2014. I'm Laura Hettiger in for Robin Smith. Now, if your TV is by a window, then you can look outside. You know that the snow has stopped falling, but man, bone-chilling cold temperatures are on the way. Meteorologist Ken Earhart has been very busy in the Weather Center monitoring that mercury.
And the snowfall that we had as well.
All right, thank you, Kent. And News 4 is keeping a close eye on the roads for you. Blowing and drifting snow still pose a problem. Go ahead, take a look at this. This was the biggest issue during the morning commute. A semi jackknifed on I-44 near Eureka, shutting down all eastbound lanes for more than an hour. 44 reopened around 8:15, and there have been no additional problems in that area. The shovels and snow plows are out in full force all over our area today, and that's apparent here in Troy, Illinois. IDOT says more than 200 plow and snow trucks hit the streets by 5 o'clock this morning. I was out patrolling the Metro East during the commute earlier. We saw at least 8 cars and trucks that had slid off the road. Luckily, the snow did not cause any major accidents. It's not just the Midwest getting hit by this winter weather. Millions of people in the Northeast are preparing for the first snowstorm of 2014. Marley Hall has the latest from New York City.
Marley Hall for CBS News, New York.
Even before the snow started piling up, many school districts decided to close for today and tomorrow. Be sure to check kmovie.com for the latest school closings. Kent told you it was going to be cold here tomorrow morning, but hey, nothing quite like this. In Minot, North Dakota this morning, temperatures dipped to 21 below zero with a wind chill factor of 37 below. The temperatures in Minot have not been above zero since last weekend. Back here at home, fire crews continue investigating a house fire in South City. News 4 captured this scene in the 4900 block of Eiler as firefighters work to contain the flames to the basement. The family was inside when that fire broke out. One child sustained a minor injury but was not taken to the hospital. Here's a question for you. What do you think of the job your elected officials are doing in Washington? Well, not much. According to a poll out this morning, it shows that 70% of Americans have no confidence the government can accomplish anything significant given the way things have been going. The poll also finds 50% of respondents say the system needs major changes or a complete overhaul. And controversial Toronto Mayor Rob Ford has put his name on the ballot to run for another term. Ford was the first candidate to show up at a city hall when registration opened today for the October election. Ford is running again despite admitting last year he smoked crack, quote, in a drunken stupor. The Toronto City Council has stripped him of most of his powers. And it is finally a happy new year for passengers on board a ship trapped in Antarctic ice. A few hours ago, a helicopter made it to the stranded research vessel. Bad weather and the same ice that has left the ship stranded have been delaying rescue efforts for more than a week. The ship is carrying 52 research scientists and tourists. They are being airlifted to a Chinese icebreaker. 22 crew members will stay behind, working to free the ship from that ice. Doctors at a Houston hospital say there's no change in the condition of former First Lady Barbara Bush. Mrs. Bush was hospitalized on Monday with what is described as a respiratory issue. Former President George H.W. Bush says in a statement that she is in great spirits. Mrs. Bush is 88 years old. Her husband is 89. Just last week, the duo presented a service award to a businessman in Houston. Here's an interesting story we came across out of Texas. A nurse says she was fired for refusing to get a flu shot. Carrie Ann Wilkie was working in the neonatal unit at a hospital in Katy, Texas. Recently, she was told to get a flu shot. That's something that the hospital requires. She refused, saying she was concerned about potential side effects such as nerve damage and fertility issues. The hospital fired her. Wilkie says it was a hard decision, but she feels strongly she did the right thing.
It just takes one person to kind of motivate you to maybe stick up for other people. That's what they teach us, in nursing school. Be an advocate.
The hospital says its policy is based on CDC recommendations that all healthcare workers get a flu vaccination. The hospital does make exceptions for medical or religious reasons, but considered this a personal decision. Wilkie has since found another nursing job. Woo, a real scare at a New Year's celebration in Washington State. A go-kart driver loses control during a street race in Tacoma. The driver careening right into the crowd. Now, this was during Tacoma's first night celebration. It was one of the planned events. Fortunately, nobody was seriously hurt. And we don't know what caused that crash, but we have more information about one of the biggest driving problems in the country. That story is coming up right after the break. And a debate is raging over the cost of health care after a man with insurance was left with a huge bill for a relatively routine surgery. That story coming up just a little later, only on News 4 at noon.
You're watching News 4 in high definition.
Are you ever tempted to take out the phone and talk on it or even text while driving? A new study examining the dangers of distracted driving finds drivers multitask about 10% of the time. That includes eating, talking on cell phones, or texting. The research in the New England Journal of Medicine finds the risk is greatest for newly licensed teen drivers. They are much more likely to be involved in a crash while texting or reaching for a phone. Pretty soon, the cars we drive may no longer need us. You've probably heard of experimental cars that can drive themselves. Auto industry consultant IHS Automotive believes they will soon become a reality. The group predicts self-driving vehicles will account for 9% of global sales in 20 years. And the push to get people to kick the habit has been going on for decades. Now researchers say they know one effective way to cut down on smoking and save lives. We'll fill you in when we come back. But first, let's take a look at the fun fact. Have you ever heard of Marvin Chester Stone? You may not know the name, but you sure know his work. Back on this day in 1888, he got a patent on something every single one of us has used. Here's a hint. Some of them are bendable and they are still in use today. The answer coming up just a little later, only on News 4 at noon. Welcome back. Researchers looking for ways to reduce smoking deaths say raising taxes could go a long way. A review in the New England Journal of Medicine finds tripling tobacco taxes would prevent 200 million smoking deaths worldwide during this century. Researchers say the tax hike would double the price of cigarettes in some countries, which could reduce the number of smokers by a third. Hey, by the way, Missouri has the lowest cigarette tax in the nation at just 17 cents a pack. The national average is $1.53 a pack. A 20-year-old California man is sparking a new discussion about the cost of health care, or at least about the cost of an appendectomy. In October, Nick Gonzalez went to a Sacramento hospital with terrible pain. Turns out he had appendicitis and needed surgery. He was in the hospital and out all in one day, but the bill, $55,000. Nick could not believe it, and he posted the bill on the social media site Reddit. He's gotten more than 10,000 comments. He says he just wanted people to know how expensive healthcare can be.
It's not that I'm angry at them for charging me this much. I just think it's the situation in America with our healthcare. It's overpriced.
A spokesman for the hospital says they have to charge so much because they care for so many patients who have no money and no insurance. Nick does have limited insurance, but he still has to pay $11,000 of that bill.
Well, you're going to be saying ouch when you see these temperatures in the 7-day forecast. Some of the coldest we've seen in over a decade, possibly in St. Louis. And there's more snow on the way as well. Not today, but it's in the 7-day forecast. I'll have the details coming up.
And the family of superstar Michael Jackson says the jury was wrong when it reached a verdict in favor of a concert promoter last fall. Coming up after weather, find out what Jackson's relatives are doing about it now. But first, let's take a look at the stock markets on this second day of 2014. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Well, the last time we were at 0 degrees was back in 2011 on January 21st. And the last time we were below 0 officially at the airport in St. Louis was way back in 1999, 15 years ago. 15 years ago. Laura Hettiger was in second grade. Hey. Were you? I don't even know.
I have no comment.
But that's cold. And just, you know, we haven't been that cold in 15 years. That's pretty significant.
Record breaking.
Almost.
Well, at least we're going to start off with a win, I guess, maybe, first.
Yeah. So.
It's okay. Second grade. I have nothing
to
say.
I don't know what this is.
A Los Angeles court is expected to hear a motion tomorrow for a new trial in the Jackson family lawsuit against AEG Live. Last October, a jury cleared the concert promoter of wrongdoing in connection with Michael Jackson's death. In an appeal of that verdict, the Jackson family cites misconduct by the jury and insufficient evidence as reasons a new trial should be granted. And did you get something you really didn't expect for Christmas? An Illinois woman just received her last package, and it contained a surprise from the first family. That story is coming up right after the break. And time now to answer the fun fact.
So you may not know the name Marvin Chester Stone, but you've used his invention many, many times. Kids love them. They're in nearly every restaurant in America. What product did he patent way back in 1888?
I like this one. The answer, the straw. Stone got the patent on the modern straw, but researchers say straws have been around since 3000 BC. And in fact, we have some right here.
Yes, we do.
Who doesn't have a straw in their purse at all times?
This one has a mustache on
Yeah,
it, though,
mine
which I
has
think is very clever.
I like it.
That's cool.
An Illinois woman got an unexpected present from the first family. Elaine Church lives in Wadsworth. And when the last package she was expecting arrived, there was a second package inside that wasn't hers. It was already opened, and the return address showed it came from Sasha and Malia Obama. Very cool, a photo book with pictures of the first family intended for the girl's godmother.
Cute.
We'll see.
Stay warm.